The Everglades. The vast, infinite, green, damp terrain of an exciting region passes below during a fascinating and spectacular sightseeing flight. Sometimes the pilots fly right over the treetops. A thrilling and dramatic experience, at least for some passengers. The Everglades Nature Park is located in the far southeast of Florida. It covers an area of around 3,500 square kilometres. And the neighbouring swamps beyond the protected area of the park also belong to this unique region. From above, the view of this swampy area is particularly impressive. The plane heads down smoothly toward the runway. To take a closer look at the beauty of the national park, a slightly different mode of transport can prove quite effective. A good way to explore the landscape is by way of an airboat excursion. Airboats can travel over land as well as in water. The so-called glades, freshwater swamps, extend from the country's interior almost 200 kilometres south to the coast. The plants in the park are unique to North America. During a fascinating tour in the airboat, the sky reflects like crystal in the shallow waters of the Everglades. The huge river that originates from Lake Okeechobee travels slowly and almost imperceptibly toward the sea. This extensive nature reserve provides its visitors with scenery that is both rugged and beautiful. The hazy landscape with its infinite waterways and riverbanks conjures up a strong sense of adventure. The deeper one journeys into the depths of the Everglades, the more likely it is that a rare bird species will be spotted. In its diversity, the fauna is just as captivating as the vegetation. For most of the year, the majority of the nature park is covered with water. Visitors can choose from several different types of transport. The airboat passes small cabins that have been long deserted. They seem to add a hint of mystique to the experience. But the Everglades have attained their fame not because of human habitation, but because of the presence of an intimidating reptile species, the alligator. Bird lovers are also fascinated by this subtropical environment. The number of different species is amazing. As a result of heavy rainfall and hot sunshine, plus the immense water supply provided by Lake Okeechobee, a fantastic and incomparable variety of vegetation has developed here. Indians call this swampy sawgrass-covered area Paheoki, or grassy water. Under Florida's bright skies, the plants enjoy ideal growing conditions. At the beginning of the 20th century, a growing number of people moved to this region. The ever-increasing population and settlements were not without problems. Because of their need for water, over half the original swamp area dried out. It seemed that the water necessary to supply farms and cities became more important than the preservation of the Everglades. As the region became populated, the numbers of all manner of animals began to decline, as well as those of the alligator. In the 60s and 70s, the situation grew even worse. The Everglades became almost completely dried out. Today, however, modern computer technology has been employed to preserve the natural character of this landscape by producing a steady flow of water. In addition to earlier human encroachment at the beginning of the 20th century, the alligator was hunted down without pity for its much prized and fashionable skin. This sensitive environment was about to collapse when, in 1916, part of it was designated a protected area. boats are not permitted in the national park. Their engines frighten the wildlife, making detailed observation virtually impossible. Everglades City offers many different tours of the surrounding swamp areas. In this delightful atmosphere, it's good to take a refreshing rest from the humid journey. Various types of restaurants are available. An information and service centre provides detailed information about numerous types of accommodation in the nature park, in addition to all of its attractions and tours. A boat excursion may be slower and less spectacular, but it's far less intrusive than the airboat. The animals are not frightened away by huge propellers. From the roof of the slow-moving boat, passengers are able to experience fascinating views of nature and the animals that live within this habitat. Pelicans are common in this region, and so seeing them in the wilderness of the Everglades is a frequent occurrence. Amidst this infinite grass river, small islands rise up above the water. These islands are called hammocks. Many different and beautiful trees grow here, such as the mahogany tree. The vibrant green of the park's vegetation contains over 1,000 different plant varieties. Thus, its constant transformation is guaranteed. Despite the diversity of botanic life, mangrove forests dominate the mixed salt and freshwater region around the coast. Overall, 400 different bird species can be observed in this amazing park. The vast sawgrass prairie, as the tall, sharp reed grass is called, is only interrupted by a few small tree-covered hammock islands. Approximately 275 different types of fish live in the waters of the Everglades. Among them, the endangered species of the manatis, docile sea cows that weigh well over a ton. Birds are particularly easy to spot in the trees and bushes of the swamps. They sit quite still in the humid atmosphere and are therefore popular with photographers. Some animals seem to be completely unimpressed and totally unfazed by tourists, making it possible to observe the occasional stork as it preens its feathers. The endangered woodstock has its largest breeding grounds in the United States, right here in the swampy woods of Florida's Everglades. The majority of birds that spend the winter months here come from the northern areas of the country. But even birds from the southern regions come here to breed. Pelicans, ibis, snail kites and great white herons can be found here. The shallow river finally ends where both fresh and salt water combine, in Florida Bay and the Gulf of Mexico. The boat ride is slowly coming to an end, and some of the passengers are glad to feel the security of solid ground beneath their feet. It is both easy and relaxing to drive through this captivating scenery and to head for another point of interest in this unique landscape that is located only 70 kilometres south of Miami. The car also offers a short break from a real menace: mosquitoes. Even during the drier months of the year, almost no one is spared from the occasional insect bite. Covering an area of around 6,000 square kilometres, the Everglades are the largest subtropical environment in North America. Unique to the Western Hemisphere, this natural environment developed around 10 to 11,000 years ago at the end of the last ice age. Following the melting of thick layers of ice, the sea levels began to rise, and so subsequently this swampy forest area began to develop. In order to preserve this humid and damp habitat, in 1934, part of this sensitive ecological environment was declared a national park. The deeper that one ventures into the interior of this region, the tropical vegetation is less abundant. Both mahogany and pine trees form densely concentrated smaller forests. An unusual vehicle that seems to be related to a tractor, but a more elevated version, is the almost perfect way to continue our journey through the swamps of the Everglades. While passengers enjoy the fabulous views from on high, the tractor slowly yet comfortably makes its way through the thick mud of the swamp. After a short but nevertheless exciting encounter with an alligator, the journey continues. To a certain extent, this trip can sometimes become a little bumpy and unnerving, but soon an amiable raccoon catches our attention. Although raccoons are only one of many animal species in the United States' second largest national park, they are certainly among the most curious. Beyond the protected park area, these cute little critters can also be fed. Raccoons seem to be attracted by the noise of the tractor. A drive through the unique vegetation of the Everglades is reminiscent of a leisurely expedition through a jungle. The highlights of this particular phase of the journey are the old and disintegrating remains of human habitation. Strange cabins and small wooden buildings are the ruins of some of southern Florida's former settlements. The tractor travels further into the swampy terrain and wilderness. During the drier summer months, some areas of the park can be explored on foot. Suddenly, amidst the jungle-like vegetation, another furry creature appears from out of nowhere. Unusual, foreign and exotic plants were introduced to the park both deliberately and by accident. However, these plants have proliferated so much that they now threaten the survival of the native flora. The journey on the tractor-like vehicle is a fascinating experience for its passengers, who are absorbed by the magnificent views of the surrounding trees and landscape. On the banks, yet another curious raccoon arrives to greet his guests. Picturesque reflections cover the surface of the water, creating attractive motifs for photographers. The simple beauty of nature is amazing. Especially raccoons, who search the water for possible nourishment and are very receptive to and unafraid of strangers. On our return journey, further remnants of the past come to view. The rich diversity of the flora makes a visit to this magnificent and special biosphere a remarkable and unforgettable experience. In recent years, this vast swampy area in the south of Florida and the National Park of the Everglades has developed into a major sightseeing attraction. Visitors can choose from a wide variety of tours, expeditions and exciting journeys through this fascinating wildlife area. During the rainy months, boats are the most practical way to explore these watery regions. A Mississippi alligator can reach up to 3.5 meters in length. It is the reserve's most feared reptile, and therefore its #1 predator. Nevertheless, experienced park employees and animal trainers frequently pit their wits against these powerful creatures. Alligators are also often called the caretakers of the Everglades. The climatic conditions under 1 to 2 metre thick layer of peat form the basis of the park's magnificent vegetation. Water is retained by the earth, thus ensuring the continued development of the swamps. The variety and diversity of the park's flora is truly incredible. 120 different tree varieties and at least 24 types of orchid grow in the reserve. Whether slow and leisurely or faster, speedier vehicles, many kinds of transport encourage the intrepid traveller to make the most of the wonderful swampy world of the Everglades. Nature presents itself in colourful splendour. The blue sky and hot, humid climate complete the impressions of this unusual and unique wilderness. The exotic scenery of the waterbanks passes calmly by during the relaxing boat trip on the wide, slow-flowing river. Park officials and rangers are happy to provide information on the rich and colourful world of the nature park's plants and animals. Among all the park's creatures, the alligator is most assuredly the star of the show, but the peaceful demeanour of this reptile can be extremely deceptive. Several varieties of eagles dominate the sky. This swampy region has also become one of the few remaining habitats for the endangered snail kite. Predatory birds have also made their home within the protected confines of the Everglades National Park. Several companies provide specialised bird-watching tours of this captivating wild environment. The Everglades also contains traces of its original inhabitants. After the Seminole War, the Miccosukee Indians sought refuge here. Numerous alligator shows take place in the nature park. The dangerous nature of these animals often manifests itself during these performances. At close quarters, the crowd watches the fascinating creatures in awe. Nearby, there's a display of the teeth and skulls of these huge reptiles. An old atmospheric Miccosukee Indian village has been transformed into a historical museum. In a variety of well-stocked shops, the small settlement offers a wide selection of traditionally crafted Indian products for sale. The numerous cabins offer an extensive range of interesting items. Approximately 450 Miccosukee Indians inhabit the forests of the Everglades. Naturally, modern technology has also been introduced here. The creativity of the local shopkeepers is quite ingenious. The head of an alligator has been transformed into a receptacle for the gratuities of generous tourists. This small Indian village augments the exotic flavour of this beautiful nature park, and thoughts come to mind of life here as it was during the 19th century. Stilted wooden huts and further practical structures protect everyone from the water as well as the alligators. The huts are connected by footbridge. Some of the footbridges lead away from the village and into lush green vegetation. Far away from the noise of the boats, the tranquil scenery is amazing. state legislation seems to have been successful in securing the natural life cycles of this remarkable national park. The insects and mosquitoes of this damp, swampy area are often only too painfully noticed. Here, protection is a must. For man, the living conditions within the Everglades during the time of the first Miccosukee settlements were far from easy. The picturesque atmosphere of this Indian village will always be remembered by visitors from all over the world. The Everglades. Many legends surround these mysterious natural swamps, the home of the alligator in the south of Florida, and some of the faces of its inhabitants reflect the stories and history of this unique and fascinating nature park.